Local media in Palestine announced that Israeli bombing killed 16 people in Rafah. In China, government stated that it was highly concerned about the escalated tensions between Pakistan and Iran and called on the two sides to exercise calm and restraint. In France, heavy snowfalls have hit the north of the country, causing dozens of kilometers of traffic jams on several roads in the area. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Rosabal from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Representatives of a human rights organization in Argentina rejected once again the necessity and urgency decree that deregulates the economy of the South American country and consider unacceptable articles of the law basis and starting points for the freedom of the Argentines, and sent by the executive to the parliament. Our correspondent in Buenos Aires, Carolina Silvestre, with the story. According to the Center for Social and Legal Studies, both initiatives reduce the role of the states as a guarantor, a mediator of rights, and replace it for a guarantor of the private appropriation of resources.
We are very concerned to understand what the delegation of legislative powers in security and defense matter means. It is not explained anywhere. Both in relation to the DNU and the Omnibus Law, the Supreme Court jurisprudence and international human rights standards are very clear that the President is not allowed to have these powers, and it is also forbidden for the Congress to endorse them.
For the human rights organizations, it is clear that the executive is looking for a change of regime.
To try to make a massive and systematic reform of the Argentinian legal system and, fundamentally, to go back in terms of human rights using extraordinary mechanisms, especially to avoid the very thing we are doing now, the parliamentary debate. This is quite obvious, contrary to Article 99 of the National Constitution, and for this reason, especially the DNU is being widely prosecuted.
These are decisions taken by the Milei administration that, according to a specialist, imply a lack of legal protection for the Argentinians and three ways to increase their repression.
Una es el discurso.
One is the narrative. There is an extremely violent narrative, not only by the government, but also by its followers in the social media, boots, and all the means of communication they use, by which anyone who criticizes is attacked in a very strong, very hard, and very aggressive way. On the other hand, there is the Bullrich Protocol for repression. It is a protocol that assumes that any popular claim made is in itself a crime.
A ruling establishes the need of permits by the Ministry of Security in order to demonstrate, to charge for the expenses incurred by police operatives of finding demonstrators, among other flagrant human rights violations.
In addition to all this, what we have is a regulation that the Ministry of Security said offhand, well, you can consider it withdrawn, when she realized it was nonsense. But she didn't withdraw anything. There is nothing to indicate that she did. It says that it is forbidden for more than 3 people to be in a public place. 3 or more persons, not more than 3 persons, without a previous authorization from the Ministry of Security.
All of these measures are part of a plan that, according to experts, has the objective to handle natural resources and goods over to foreign interests at the expense of the Argentinian people, a country where you have wealthy, very wealthy people and many more that are poor, increasingly very poor.
Carolina Silvestre, TeleSUR, Buenos Aires.
In Ecuador, prosecutor Cesar Suarez was assassinated by the hired killers in the north of Guayaquil this Thursday. The incident occurred on Bombero Avenue in the area of Rodriguez Bonita at 1:30 p.m. local time. The car in which the official was in was intercepted by the hired assassins. According to preliminary information from the authorities, Cesar Suarez was on his way to the Alban Borja Judicial Unit for a hearing. The prosecutor was leading investigations on hospital corruption in the Ecuadorian Social Security Institute and the Police Social Security Institute, both related to the drug trafficking cases. Recently, he was also leading the case of terrorism registered in television channel. In the United Kingdom, the Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, announced before the International Maritime Organization that the unilateral coercive measures and the blockade of Venezuelan vessels affect international trade. The Venezuelan Executive Vice President met in London with the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Arsenio Dominguez Velasco, where she stated that 39 vessels of the state-owned petroleros of Venezuela and 30 of international trade are illegitimately sanctioned. Rodriguez pointed out that this is the fourth country in the world in terms of the number of sanctioned vessels. On Wednesday, lawmakers in the United Kingdom passed a bill to report immigrants to Rwanda. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's new bill was approved with 320 votes in favor and 266 against after the Supreme Court rejected the original initiative in November. A total of 60 Conservative MPs supported amendments to the new bill, one of which will allow it to circumvent orders from the European Court of Human Rights. Under the government's initiative, immigrants who enter British soil illegally will be deported to Rwanda, and human rights groups have criticized the plan as inhumane and unworkable. It should be noted that after being challenged in British courts, the UK Supreme Court ruled in November that the policy was illegal because Rwanda isn't a safe country for refugees. Thousands of public sector workers in Northern Ireland walked off the job on Thursday in what a union leader said could be the province's biggest strike ever. Meanwhile, the unions assured that this coordinated day of action is expected to raise damage on public services. It should be noted that these strikes come in the midst of a prolonged political crisis that have left the British province without state government for almost 2 years. According to the organizers, some 16 unions representing teachers, civil servants, nurses, and transport workers are expected to join the strike and rallies. In this regard, Union Chief Owen Brady noted that many of these workers have gone without pay rises for 3 years, despite a cost of living crisis, and said that some 170,000 unionized public sector workers who still work to demand a release with health funds for pay rises. Let's take a short break. But remember, you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you find news in different formats, new dates, and more. Our study is coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Thursday, Palestinian authorities reported that Israeli airstrikes targeted civilians in Rafah. In the sense, local media highlighted that the so-called safe zone designated by Israel was a site where the Israeli occupation army killed 16 people, including 3 children and a 7-month pregnant woman who was sheltering in a house. On the other hand, Palestinian Abu Khaled, a relative of those killed in the Rafah attack, stated that the dead belonged to Samili and Kulab families, stressing that they were displaced for their homes in Gaza City to a buried refugee camp in Khan Yunis and recently arrived in Rafah because they thought it was a safer place. On Thursday, local media in Palestine announced that a young man was killed by Israeli forces in an attack on a refugee camp in the occupied West Bank. In turn, Palestinian authorities also stressed that a large contingent of the Israeli occupation army carried out a military incursion in the Kul Terrain for the second consecutive day. In this context, the Palestinian Ministry of Health confirmed that Mohammed Faisal Dawas, 28 years old, died after being shot by an Israeli sniper in the North Shams camp. In addition, the Zionist forces also blew up a house and destroyed infrastructure with a bulldozer. On the other hand, Palestinian authorities added that at least 8 Palestinians were wounded by Israeli bullets in Al-Mar refugee camp, south of Ramallah. Projections by the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, indicate that a high level of malnutrition could affect 10,000 children in the Gaza Strip in the next few weeks. In a statement, the agency said that in the absence of food and water, cases of wasting, the most lethal form of malnutrition, could increase by almost 30% compared to the levels prior to October 7th. They highlighted that Gaza is home to 335,000 particularly vulnerable children under the age of 5 who face serious obstacles to accessing less than 2 liters of water a day as a result of the blockade perpetrated by Israel. According to the latest report of the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, food insecurity is extremely severe in Gaza, affecting 2.2 million inhabitants. The government of Iran on Thursday condemned an attack by Pakistan on Iranian territory that left at least 7 people dead in the southern province of Sistan and Balochistan. It is since Iranian local sources reported several explosions in different areas around the southeastern city of Saravan and the border with Pakistan. The deputy governor of the province, Alireza Maramati, said 7 Iranian citizens, including 3 women and 4 children, were killed in an attack. In this regard, the spokesman of the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Nasser Kanani, condemned the attack and confirmed the chargé d'affaires of Kazakhstan had been informed of Iran's rejection and added that it requested for a response from the government of Islamabad. On Thursday, China said it was highly concerned about the escalating tensions between Pakistan and Iran and called on the sides to exercise calm and restraint.
Iran and Pakistan are close neighbors, and both are also friendly countries to China and countries with significant influence. China sincerely hopes that both sides can exercise calm and restraint and avoid escalation of tension. We are also willing to play a constructive role in de-escalating the situation if they need it.
On Thursday, the Turkish government assured its willingness to help lower the tension between Iran and Pakistan. In this regard, in a joint press conference in Jordan with his Jordanian counterpart, Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan reiterated Ankara's willingness to achieve calm as soon as possible.
We followed the developments between Pakistan and Iran with concern. This morning, I had the opportunity to speak with the foreign ministers of both countries. They explained their positions and gave the reason for their actions. We, as Turkey, recommended that no further problems escalate and that calm be achieved as soon as possible. The sides said they both did not want to see the events spread further, and they took them under control. I hope things stay here and these events will not escalate between the two countries. In the meantime, as Turkey, we will continue to do whatever we can to de-escalate the tension between Pakistan and Iran. And let me also express that we are ready.
We have a second short break coming up, but before, we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and through the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final survey, don't go away. Welcome back. In France, heavy snowfalls have hit the north of the country, causing dozens of kilometers of traffic jams on several roads in the area. Meteorological services declared an orange alert in 21 departments for rain and snow, while snowfall is expected to advance to other localities of the territory. The authorities have imposed traffic restrictions and are advising citizens in Paris to return home earlier. while in Normandy and Hauts-de-France regions, school transport has been suspended and the circulation of trucks has been banned due to snowfall forecasts. In the United States, more than 10 million people are under alert due to the winter storm. Weather officials reported that the second winter storm is advancing into the Rocky Mountains and warned in Colorado of avalanche danger due to the heavy snowfall and high winds that could reach 120 kilometers per hour. They also predicted a wind chill of 31 degrees below zero in southern and North Dakota, 26 below zero in Chicago, and 6 below zero in Tampa. For the first time in more than 700 days, New York, Washington, D.C., and other cities in the Northeast have snowfall with an accumulation of more than 2.5 centimeters. On Thursday, during a press conference, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov reiterated that his nation's military operation in Ukraine will have a successful conclusion for Moscow and assured the Western Bloc that there is no possible way to defeat its military forces.
They should have no hope that Russia could be defeated in any way. This has already been said many times. Those who fail to learn history lessons, and there are many of them in the West and geography too. Of course, they know little of it. They can fantasize about this.
In this regard, the Russian Foreign Minister also pointed out that the attacks by London and Washington and Yemen are a response to the selfish interests of NATO and its allies.
The more the Americans and British bomb Yemen, the less the Houthis want to talk. But this is the style of our Anglo-Saxon colleagues. It is important for them to muddy the words everywhere and then see how they can play out some combination from across the English Channel, from across the Atlantic Ocean that will promote the selfish interests of London and Washington.
Cuban Vice President Salvador Valdez Mesa arrived Thursday in Uganda to attend the 19th summit of the Non-Aligned Movement and the 3rd South Summit of the Group of 77 and China. The head of state expressed on the social network X that it is an honor to represent the Caribbean nation in both events, and added that in the second of them, Cuba will hand over Uganda the temporary presidency of the G77. Since its incorporation in 1971, Cuba has played an important role in the G77 in China, mainly in the promotion of South-South cooperation as a way for equitable development among countries. The MNO meeting began on the 16th with preparatory conferences for the meeting of heads of states and government and a call for unity and greater cooperation among the member nations. The MNO is made up from 120 countries, 53 from Africa, 39 from Asia, 26 from Latin America and the Caribbean, and 2 from Europe, while 70 nations have observer status. The Director General of the World Health Organization, WHO, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, revealed on Wednesday that the term disease X is used to refer to During his speech at the World Economic Forum in the Swiss city of Davos, Tedros considered that the first disease X could be called COVID-19 and that it can happen again, clarifying that he wanted to unpack the meaning of the term in question due to the media noise that had been generated lately around the subject. He added that it's better to anticipate what may happen and not to face things unprepared. Previously, the WHO warned that an unknown disease X caused by a hypothetical pathogen could cause 20 times more deaths than the coronavirus pandemic. And we have come to the end of This Is Free, but you can find these and many other studies on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Ana Rosabal. Thank you for watching.